My patience has grown thin. The guests and the staff of this house think it is acceptable to lie to my face when questioning an obstruction of my investigation. But no more. We shall see how Monsieur Sterling and his staff fare under some pressure. I had been lied to for the last time. My suspicion initially led me to the guests, but how they are firmly placed on the staff. Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rahana cannot hide behind their lies any longer. Lucy, Luke died at the factory strike. Such a horrible way to go, and at least he died fighting for a noble cause. Ernesto paid the major well for his support. It sounds as though it was a substantial amount of money after the major was paid for his services. Ernesto was being extorted by the major. It seems that Ernesto was being extorted by the major following the riots, being paid and paid more money for pretty much no work being done. Security attacked first. Ernesto has confirmed that the major security force attacked first at the riots. Well, that's not good. Go figure. And then the major was extorting money from Ernesto. It seems that Felix was extorting money from Ernesto after the riots. The major tried to pay off Jackie. Blackmail seems to be a common theme amongst the upper class. Jackie wasn't keen on Felix's offer. Hmm. Angie came from the woman's shelter. Angie was at the woman's shelter before Margot found her a position at the Vanderbosch house. Angie previously prosecuted. Angie was in trouble with the law in her younger years, for theft specifically. Angie was tasked with gathering information. Margot got all her information from Angie. She didn't even think about getting her hands dirty. Angie is following Margot's orders. She feels a great sense of gratitude towards Margot and follows her orders almost blindly. Could this lead to her do something she may later regret? Angie accused access to safe. It seems Angie was able to gain access to Felix's safe. How did she achieve this? wants revenge. I do not blame her for wanting revenge after losing her brother in such a terrible way. Rihanna is Luke's sister. Angie confirms that Rihanna is Luke's sister. Such trivial information has eluded me for so long. That's that. Hey everybody, Christian Dragon here. Welcome back to uh, Christie, Agatha, Hercule Poirot, the first cases. Unfortunately, um, I forgot to hit the record button. So, I ended up started in the room, came out of our room, got into the main hallway and everything, and we met up with the woodsmith. Uh, she seemed kind of disgruntled, like something's wrong and everything. Um, and then uh, Mr. Sterling, um, Archibald showed up, took Mademoiselle Elizabeth away, saying that the lady of the house, Mademoiselle Engineer, wanted her and everything. And then we requested through uh, Archibald that we wanted to see um, all the house servants, housemaids, and whatnot. Um, and Archibald obliged, and while he's doing that, we were told that wanted to talk to Hugo, and here we are talking to him. Um, I did already started a conversation with
It's
him,
getting late, Detective, but if you must.
um, and truthfully, I can't remember the conversation that we had with him. Actually,
Merci.
there is a way. Let's go to. No, 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 no. Where are you going? No, you stay there. You stay there. Let's do it this way. Um. Okay. I thought I was gonna be here, but nothing. So, okay, no Hugo. Can't remember the conversation that we had with him. What's F? Interesting. But it says that there's something there. What is it? Oh, here it is. Hugo couldn't say no to fame. Hugo was adamant his only wish to help the workers. It seems he included himself in that wish too. So yeah, that was a conversation. It seemed that the journalist, um, what's her name, Jackie Conrad, wanted to make Hugo uh, like a star and everything. Um, but he just mentioned that he didn't want that and everything. He just wanted to be the working man, um, and help out uh, the union workers and everything. So that was that conversation. So let's continue on.
It's getting late, Detective, but if you must.
I was wondering, did your speech go the way you expected it?
My speech? I'm not sure what speech.
You may save your false ramblings for your next audience. I am aware you spoke with the Major yesterday.
Whoever told you that has it wrong, Detective.
Please, monsieur. The truth.
Okay, fine. Yes, the Major and I spoke, but it was not for long.
What was the manner of your conversation? From what I understand, it was not a light-hearted chat.
I was trying to convince him to speak with Ernesto. It's time we brought the strikes to an end.
And that was best approached by a shouting match?
He wouldn't listen to what I said. I spent so long preparing how I was going to convince him, but men like him are only swayed by one thing: money.
Monsieur Beckers is not wrong. Had he tried to grease the Major's palm, perhaps he would have been more successful.
It is said that money is the root of all evil, but it can also be a rather powerful bargaining chip.
Well, he was bargaining with people's lives. If he had acted sooner, none of those men, my men, would have to die.
The Major oversaw security at the facilities. Could he have done more to stop the strikes turning violent? I understand Monsieur de Silva had prepared a deal.
A deal? It was an insult.
And that is why you did not sign it?
I didn't sign it because the workers deserve so much more, not his pathetic attempts to get them back to work.
Did you think there was a chance for a better deal to be made?
I know there was. He's a pompous swine that cares for only himself and filling his pockets.
I'm sure I've heard that description of Monsieur de Silva before. or at least something similar. Push on Jacqueline's influence over Hugo. This should be fun.
Mademoiselle Conrad can be quite convincing, can she not?
She has certainly taken several wealthy business partners by surprise with her knowledge and prowess. She knows how to use her womanly powers to get what she wants.
But she did not surprise or use you.
Me? Use me? Don't be ridiculous, detective. There were no games played at my expense.
Monsieur Beckers has quite a way with words and is a fan of his own vice. Perhaps I should allow him the opportunity to speak and open up without too much interruption and forcefulness. So, I'm curious, even though she was able to convince you not to sign the deal, suggestive. If you are sure, uh, I am sure many have been persuaded by her feminine prowess. Let's go with curious.
No, she just reminded me of what I was fighting for.
Antagonistic. You were used. Direct. You claim that you refused Monsieur de Silver's deal as it was not adequate for your men.
And I stand by that. It was an insult.
A rather bold move to make such a decision on your own.
Okay, I think we're breaking them down there, so that's good. Um, accusing. Are you prepared to take responsibility for your actions or lack of thereof? Honest. Your job is to support the workers, but without you having done, but nothing you have done has got them any closer to the results you promised. Hmm. Let's be honest.
I may not be perfect, but I've done everything I can.
Your efforts fell short in every respect. You claim to be the voice of the people, but you care about no one's voice or benefits but your own.
It's not as easy as just signing a piece of paper, detective. It is a heavy weight to bear on one's shoulders. I consulted with others.
You yourself spoke of Mademoiselle Conrad's cunning in business.
And I told you, I was not one of her targets.
Tell me then, what was it she reminded you of? The acclaimed man of the people you would be known as if you pushed the factory owners for more?
It wasn't like that at all.
From where I am standing, it was she that was manipulating the terms of the deal, and you in the process. You were merely her pawn.
Okay, yes, I know. I shouldn't have listened to her. But what else could I do? Remain an unknown my whole life? I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt.
It may not have been your intention, but we both know the result. You rolled the dice with those men's lives for fame, and you lost.
Part of my intrusion, but you are far, but you are from a large family.
What does that have to do with anything?
I have often wondered about the competition siblings face in a large family.
When you're young, it is the best feeling to know you have family that will stand by you, without even being asked. It is not until everyone starts carving their own path that you realize you're walking yours solo, and those that were beside you are now miles away. My other brothers were the athletes of the family. They both played soccer, and were the infatuation of every teenage girl. I'm sure you have seen the type.
Oui, monsieur, but I can assure you that was not I.
Then there was me. Quiet, timid, a shadow of the Baker brothers. My voice and very presence was forgotten and ignored. Nothing I could say or do would ever reach the bar they had set. But I always knew I was destined for great things. Years passed, and now that I no longer stood in the colossal ombre of my brothers, I could become my own man. When the position of union leader was posted, it was my chance to finally be heard. You hear politicians speak of the little or the common men? Well, that was me. And I knew what we wanted and what we needed. When I spoke, others listened. I held their gaze with a sense of pride, a sense that what I was doing was for the greater good. It was supposed to be my crowning achievement, lead the men to victory over the money grabbing oppressors. But instead, all I did was lead them to their deaths.
Monsieur, it was not at your hands that these men died. The blame cannot lie solely on your shoulders. Those responsible will be punished for their crimes. That you must trust.
Monsieur Bucker's story is one of fighting to have one's voice heard, be it a single or one of the masses. I'm afraid he may be responsible for what he did. Sorry. I'm afraid he may be remembered for what he did, but not in the way he so hoped. Um, that really sucks. But, yeah, well, we talked to Hugo and everything. And, that's that. That's, quite the shame there. But, alright, let's head down now and, talk, talk with the, um, all the others. Uh, while speaking with Monsieur Beckers was not the reason for me being up at this hour. He was able to fill in some of the blanks regarding the Major, but not in getting any closer to discovering his killer. Perhaps the staff living quarters will. Alright, well, inspect the staff quarters to advance the investigation. Alright, let's go ahead and get to it. Finally, we get to go inside this room. Sheesh. Seriously? This is the living quarters? This is something you'd find on a ship. Decent supply of logs. I hope the staff also get to make use of them with this winter. They are a few days old and not do not hold a candle as what? Wait, what? They are a few days old and do not hold a candle as to what has transpired here this weekend. Okay. There do not seem to be
Oh,
anything of interest in here.
huh.
A war medal that I assume must belong to the Major. A
Oh,
rather luxurious jacket. The initials read F.H. Felix Hagen. Are these scruffy boots his as well? Why would they be left here, though? The items I have found are most intriguing and require an explanation that I believe only the staff can give. I shall meet them in the pantry.
Detective, what can we do for you?
You can help me by telling the truth, and in the process, help yourselves.
Sorry, Detective. It's a bit late in the night for riddles.
It is no riddle, monsieur. If I do not receive the truth, you shall all be charged as accessories to murder.
Detective, I think maybe you have been locked in this house for too long. We have already.
You have told me a version, and now I require honesty.
Okay, Hugo sounds like he's Irish. But, oh no, maybe that's just me. Let's see here. So we got metal, a war metal that I assume must belong to the major. Band of clothes. A major's the major's coat. I cannot think of anyone else that would own a coat like this in the house. Why is it here? Now, worn out boots. These do not strike me as a pair of boots worn by the major. They have been some hard miles walked in these, so who do they belong to? So I'm wondering if this is one connection.
Order and method.
Of course
That
not.
is the way to solve the problem.
Okay. So let's see here. Hugo claims he saw the major outside smoking a cigar, but this was sometimes after I spoke to him. War metal, I assume, must belong to the major.
This will not get me any closer.
No.
I must act on thought and fact.
Okay.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
The major would not have left such a fine coat in the staff area. Someone must have worn it. More importantly, however, who wore the major's clothes?
What a revelation!
The theory that the major had been killed during dinner was nothing but a ruse. Why are the staff covering for the real time of death? Oh, jeez, Alright, so we just start talking to everybody here. Let's start with you, Archer.
Monsieur Sterling, is there anything you would like to add to your story?
I'm not sure what you think I have done, Detective.
Let us not string out this charade any longer.
The telephone call the major received.
From his associate. I've already told you, Detective. I don't know who it was.
Do not worry yourself on such details now. I suppose they were lucky to have called when they did. Otherwise, they may not have gotten through at all, with the telephone lines being down as of yesterday.
Aye, Detective. Lucky, I guess.
Monsieur Sterling is no fool. I believe he is aware of. He is aware I suspect him of something. Perhaps some carefully worded questions are all that are needed for him to slip up. You were the last to see the major alive when you brought him the bottle of whiskey to his study, correct?
Whiskey?
You took a bottle of whiskey to the major. You spoke with Monsieur Demire en route.
Aye, of course. It was a bottle he picked up from his last visit to Scotland. Rather smoky number from the Highlands. He was saving it for a worthy occasion. Drowning his sorrows must have been fitting enough.
At first, he did not remember the bottle at all, and as if by magic, he recalls the exact details.
Or was it the one from the west coast? You'll have to excuse my memory, Detective. It's not what it used to be.
Can you explain why the medal belonging to the Major was amongst your belongings?
Oh, you found it. Thank you, Detective. I've been looking everywhere for it.
If I had lost a war medal, I would not stop until I found it.
It's not what you think. I was...
Exploiting a dead man's military achievements for your own personal gain?
Nothing of the sort. He asked me to clean them up. I must have dropped it into my pocket when I was putting them back. An honest mistake.
Never have I heard such a uh no idea what the word is. Excuse to explain a stolen item in someone's possession. I would expect a better life from an infant. I cannot claim to be an expert, but I would presume a medal like that would be of quite some value.
I wouldn't know. Probably.
Your father was in the military for many years. That is what you told me.
He was.
And your family still keep his medals?
They were sold.
And why was that, monsieur?
Is my family on trial now, Detective?
Only you, monsieur. And I repeat my question.
Because we needed money.
Voila.
Monsieur Sterling was well aware of the medal's value it when it found its way into his belongings. Uh, you claimed the Major asked you to clean his medals for display purposes?
No. He keeps them safe with some of his old military documentation.
Is that a typical job for the head butler?
He trusts me to do a good job. I told him I used to clean my father's, so he asked me to do the same.
And where does he keep these items?
In the storage room. I know where everything is, so it's just easier if I fetch them for him as and when he needs them.
I do not recall seeing any military memorabilia or keepsake when I was in the storage room. Could there be another storage room he speaks of?
It's certainly better than my last.
You are paid a fitting wage for the work that is asked of you?
I'm sure the lady of the house would not want me discussing it, but I should not complain.
That is not the most convincing answer, monsieur.
Between you and I, we all work very hard here, and it would be nice if we were rewarded for it.
It seems Monsieur Sterling is trying to convince me, as he has himself, that his light-fingered actions are justifiable due to the petite wage he receives for his honest work.
Please don't go anywhere. If I require more information, I shall call on you again. Mademoiselle, I shall keep my questions brief.
I don't know what else I can tell you.
You have been honest with me so far. All I request is that you continue to do so.
Oui, detective.
I am already aware of Mademoiselle's involvement with the blackmail, but I am not sure if she is also connected to the Major's murder. Tell me what happened before you found the Major in his study.
It was frantic in the pantry. We were working hard to make sure everything was up to scratch.
Go on.
Then Liz burst in, asking for Mamore's help.
Her help with what, exactly?
I don't know. She took Liz to one side, and I was needed in the salon. We spoke just after that in the pantry.
You did not question what she needed help with?
I was too busy. I love Liz, but she sheds a tear at almost everything these days. Although, I have never seen her look so pale.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth still looked pale when I saw her earlier. I understand the amount of work that goes into keeping a house of this size running, but Madame uh, cannot expect the staff to work if they are ill. Perhaps Mademoiselle uh, Rahana can clear up the reason for Elizabeth's panic.
Merci. I shall return if I have any further questions.
Okay, let's go through this first before I get too far behind. And there's one link that we gotta make, so that's good. I jumped into this. Uh, Archibald hasn't noticed a lack of calls. The head butler that does not notice when the telephone suddenly stops ringing for days. Strange. And then we got Archibald. Archibald forgot to. He took whiskey to the major. It was like talking to two different people. While one could not remember the bottle at all, the second could almost tell me what year it was. What year it was bottled. Archibald seems he lost the medals. A head butler that is forgetful and clumsy. It is too coincidental. Medal kept in storage room. Archibald claims that he retrieved the medals from the storage room before cleaning them. Archibald must have a very good reason for stealing from the major and holding it in plain sight. Archibald stole from the major. Archibald. Madame pays the staff very little. Uh, it has come as no surprise that the family is not paying their staff adequate pay. Hmm.
I cannot see the logic in this. Perhaps a second look at.
Seriously? How about this?
Come, my little
Ah,
dauphiness.
fine. Fine, be that way. Um, no. No. Hmm.
I must take a different approach if I am to.
Are you kidding me? Madam pays the staff very little. It has come to as no surprise that the family is not paying their staff adequate pay. Worn out boots. These do not strike me as a pair of boots worn by the major. There have been some hard miles walked in these, so who do they belong to? What is the connection? The fact that they're getting not getting adequate pay, and yet boots that are not the majors, who do they belong to? Don't understand the connection.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
But I guess we're gonna find out. I should have known at first glance these belongs to a member of the staff, but who? Seriously? Seriously?
Another success. I never doubted myself.
A staff member dressed in the major's clothes and took his position out in the snow for the guests to see. Why would they do this? Mm-hmm. Interesting. Alright, Rihanna.
Mademoiselle, I shall be as quick and precise with my questioning as possible.
Okay. What do you need?
My condolences on your brother's passing.
Merci. He was a good man. Taken too early.
Forgive me, mademoiselle, for not extending them earlier, but I was not aware of your relationship.
He was my only brother. And he died doing what he believed was right. If I ever get my hands on who took him from me.
I understand why she is so angry for her brother to be taken away from this world at such a young age, and in such a violent manner. Violence cannot be met with violence, but I am not sure Mademoiselle feels the same. Tell me about your brother's involvement in the riots at the factory.
You say the riots, but it was the strike he was part of. They started the riots, not the workers.
By they, you are referring to the security forces. They were brought in to keep the peace.
Security, huh? They were brought in to make an example of them. It was all peaceful until they arrived.
Why would they need to make an example?
So that the workers would stop rallying. No one is going to go on strike if they think they'll get killed. The security you talk of were armed and ready. The workers were pigs to the slaughter. What chance did they have?
It is obvious Mademoiselle is still upset about her brother's death, and rightly so. If the offense was as Mademoiselle describes, I cannot comprehend how the security forces were able to get away with such despicable acts of violence. Pardon-moi, Mademoiselle. I know we have spoken on this, but you took ice to the Major, correct?
Yes.
This was before or after Archibald took him a bottle of whiskey.
Before.
You are sure?
It may have been after.
The whiskey is kept in the cellar with all the alcohol.
It is.
Then you must have noticed him going into the cellar and returning with a bottle through the pantry, no?
Yes, I suppose I did. It must have been before then.
It took me only one question for Mademoiselle to tell her own story. What I still cannot see is why the need for the lies. Tell me about Elizabeth yesterday.
What is there to say? Being locked away in the pantry, I don't see her for most of the day.
That may be. But she came looking for your help before dinner was served, did she not?
She wasn't feeling well, that's all.
And she came to you.
I told you, we are a family here. The girls come to Mama Reh if they have a problem, and I fix it.
When I saw her earlier, I must admit she was not looking herself. Perhaps I should check on her.
No, just leave the poor girl. She'll be fine after another bowl of my homemade soup. She just needs her rest.
I'm sure Mademoiselle Rohana is a loving mother figure to the staff while away from their families, but her eagerness to keep me from seeing Mademoiselle Elizabeth again does not sit comfortably.
Merci, mademoiselle. That is all for now.
Something strange about her. I'm gonna figure it out. We got a link. Elizabeth. Uh, Rahana confirms what Archibald has told me of Elizabeth's health. I hope she recovers soon. And then Rahana speaks with such anger about the strikes, claiming the workers were pigs to the slaughter. And then Rahana unsure about timings. I understand she must have been incredibly busy in the kitchen, but to forget a detail that proves her innocence, why is this significant? Because Archibald don't know what the heck he's talking about either.
Things are beginning to become clearer.
How can either of them forget something so important from only the day before? Hell, I forget things too real quickly. Archibald and Rihanna unsure of their stories. How can either of them forget something so important from only the day before? And I believe that this, now it's going to go to this. Staff member dressed in clothes and took his position. Wait. Staff covering for the real time of death, yes.
Magnifique.
Both Archibald and Rana played the parts very well. That is until they become complacent. Why do the staff feel they need to fabricate stories? I want to say this and this.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
Um, yeah, I'm kind of surprised by myself right now. Uh, I almost had to relay their stories back to them both. Relay their stories back to them both. I obviously cannot truth a word they have said. Why are the staff hiding the truth from me? Staff may be involved with the murder. The evidence points toward the staff being involved in the major's murder in some capacity.
I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
It is relevant. I had not expected the staff were involved in the murder. While young Engi is guilty of her own crimes associated with blackmail, it is Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that have been an integral part in covering up the obscuring the truth of how the Major was killed. Well, that is that. Now all right. What we got here? The staff were already suspicious of being with to begin with, but this confirms their involvement. Are all the staff members involved? Now we got 3 links already. Jeez. I'm close to revealing the truth about the Major's murder, but I must understand the roles that each and every person involved played before the final puzzle is solved. Oh, I got 3 links here. Holy crap. Rihanna helped Elizabeth after coming downstairs. Ingy confirms Elizabeth came looking for Rihanna's help. With reason would she have to lie? And why did Rihanna help Elizabeth? Elizabeth looked white coming downstairs. Engie specifically remembered and recited seeing Elizabeth entering not looking herself. Why did Elizabeth appear so pale? Oh god. I got 3 links, I got no idea. These two gotta go together.
Some would say a lucky guess, I would say a moment of genius.
I say somewhere's in between. I cannot imagine the pain they have felt losing Luke. His memory will live on in their hearts. Okay, so there's that. We got another ink somewheres. Uh, hmm.
Is there something? Is there something I am not? I cannot see the logic in this. Another success. I never doubt.
Elizabeth looked pale, and the other members of staff were busy with their duties. She must have found the body, but did she play a part in the murder? But we still got this here. I'm very thinking that goes
What
here
a
too.
revelation!
I'm confident NG is a part of the cover-up that has clearly been a focus for the other staff.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
Although her duties are primarily focused on the kitchen and pantry, I don't recall seeing her. Jeez, I'm crumb.
Magnifique.
Impersonating the Major was Rihanna's role in the plan. Why it was necessary, I am not sure yet. Why did she feel the need to cover for Elizabeth?
Order and method. That is. I must take a different approach if I am to uncover the truth. Come, my little grey cells. We must think logically. Things are beginning to become clearer.
Archibald's acting skills can deploy to cover for a member of the staff, but who? Jeez, I'm crow. Nothing but links on this one. Archibald was covering for a staff member, but who? There, probably Rihanna.
This will
No!
not get me any closer to my goal.
Impersonating the Major?
I must must act on thought and
It's gotta be the.
What a revelation!
The stage phone call was Archibald's assignment. He went to great lengths to protect Elizabeth, but why did he feel the need to cover for Elizabeth? Well, young Angie is guilty of her own crimes associated with the blackmail. It is Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that have been an integral part of covering up and obscuring the truth of how the Major was killed. I now have all the pieces of the puzzle. I must return to my room, and place them together until the results reveals itself. But what about Mademoiselle Elizabeth? And it's time for my little gray cells to go to work. I am so close to uncovering the truth. Oh my god, my head's gonna hurt. Oh, let's do this. The family. So now we've got this here. Staff are involved in the murder. It is a revelation I had not expected. The staff were involved in the murder. And then we've got, is there another exclamation point around here? Nope, but we do have a link. So, um, could it just be this here? I mean,
some would say a lucky guess.
yeah.
I would say a moment of genius.
How could I have allowed this to slip through my grasp? Elizabeth is the murderer? Wait a minute, I'm lost. How did she become the murderer? How did she become So what oh, let's go. See what happens. I cannot believe I did not see it. Behind my own trust. Blinded by my own trust. When I look back now, the crews were there, staring me in the face. I spent my time chasing connections between the guests. Their motives and agendas were more than enough to raise suspicion, but while distracted by them, I failed to notice the one absent member of the household. What I still cannot grasp is why. I promised myself that after that fateful day in the capital, I would not let my judgment steer me adrift. But once again, it is I left looking the fool. There is nothing more that can be done tonight. I must at least try to rest my head in preparation for continuing Mademoiselle Elizabeth in the morning. Confronting Mademoiselle Elizabeth in the morning. Oh, well, what in the world? Has an elephant escaped and made its way to the second floor? It sounds as though it is coming directly from above me, but that is the storage room. Alright, that was chapter 7. Wow, that was a pretty quick one. How strange. Usually it takes longer than that. But, anywho, now we've found out who killed the Major, and it turned out to be Elizabeth. For some reason. Unknown. But, next time we get to figure out just why. Hopefully we can figure out why she did it and everything. And it's gotta be something strange. It's probably gotta be because of the death of Luke. Somehow involvement. and that and everything. Um, but until next time, stay healthy. Bye.